This is Erin Hopson with Rhinebeck School of Music, and in this video we're going to talk about some simple, basic blues intros and turnarounds to spice up your blues playing. Okay, so this is a huge topic. I'm going to try to keep it simple. I've put aside like a couple approaches that you can use to make your own turnarounds. So you can do these with licks and riffs, you can do these with chords, you can do these with single notes. Sky's the limit. But I'm going to start with a basic one that I learned from the Eric Clapton Unplugged blues album many years ago, Before You Accuse Me. So the idea behind this one, we're going to do this in the key of E. So when you're in your turnaround, you have your 5 chord to your 4 chord, so B7, 7, and then you go back to your 1 chord and then your 5 chord. So a lot of times people will do what's called the chromatic descent. So you have your 5 chord, you go to your 4 chord, and instead of going to this basic open E chord, you can do a different inversion of the E7 chord. So if this is D7, this is D sharp 7, this is E7 here. So there's my 1 chord, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to chromatically descend that chord back to the 5. So here we go. So here's E7, E flat 7, D7, back to open E, and then I can chromatically approach the 5 chord, the B, from the A sharp, B, or I could do it from above, C, B, either way. So I'm going to play this with triplets, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4, or 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4, and then I just did a C7 to a B7 there. So that's a really common one that you're going to hear in a lot of songs. So to translate that into different keys, like for example, if we were playing this in A, we'd have the E7 as our 5 chord, our D7 as our 4 chord, back to A7. So instead of playing this A7, we're going to find this inversion of the A7 up here. So D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, there's my A7. So A7, A flat 7, G, here's my A inversion of the triad there. And then you can go to an E chord or chromatically approaching the E from below or above. So check this out. Or Jimi Hendrix used an idea based on this in the intro to Red House, right? He's in B flat. So that's just a half step. Then he goes to B flat 7, A flat to B flat 7, and then he riffs off of B flat pentatonic there. So you'll hear this in a lot of different songs, and you can transpose the key just moving that dominant 7 chord, using that as your 1, going chromatically down a couple steps, back to your 1 chord, and then your 5. Okay, so here's another example, starting on the 1 chord again. So staying in E, we have our 5, B7, to our 4, A7. Now I'm going to start on the root. I'm going to play the root to the major 3rd of E, to the A sharp, which is the sharp 4 of the flat 5, leading up to the 5, which is B. So and that's just a single note line. I could do it from approach from above. So again, I'm playing the root to the major 3rd to the 4th, and then I'm sharping the 4 to lead chromatically to the B, which is the 5 chord. So I'm climbing, I'm ascending. This is called like an ascending bass line. So if we did this in another key, like say we're doing this in the key of A, I'd have E7 to D7, and then I'd have the open A, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, right? Or I could go chromatically up to the E, or F to E. So we have E7, D7, so another cool idea, and I really like this one, and this is called pedal point. This is a pedal point concept. So pedal point means you have one note that's sustaining throughout a chord progression that's changing. So what does that mean? So here's an example in A. So here's my A note here on the 5th fret, and I'm going to take the minor 7 on the D string. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to keep that A note droning over while I'm changing kind of this bass, this walking bass line that's chromatically descending down the D string. So it sounds like this. Right? So the A note is pedal point droning, and I'm going minor 7, major 6, sharp 5 to the 5. So again, we're just chromatically leading to the 5 chord in the key. And that's sort of the name of the game, whether you do it from below or from above. You're somehow climbing up to it or climbing down to it. So if we wanted to change this key, this is one that I heard in Malted Milk, Eric Clapton's version. It's a Robert Johnson song, but he did it on the Unplugged album. So before, so here's my E here on the 12th fret, and there's my minor 7, and I'm just gonna go down chromatically to the B. So before I did these together, but you can change up these patterns, you can pick them, right? And then ending on the B7 chord, so that's a really common pedal point concept. And that one's pretty easy to move around the different keys, because wherever you have your root on the E string, you're on the same string up on the D string, and you're just moving the D string down chromatically to your 5 chord. So that was D. If I'm in C, you can move it anywhere. That's an easy one. So another concept is combining the idea of the ascending bass line. So I'm combining the ascending bass with the chromatic descent idea. And then you get this really cool counterpoint. So if I did this in E, remember that your bass line, the bass line we talked about, was E, G sharp, A sharp, B. Now, the other line was D, C sharp, C, B, the chromatic descent. So I'm going to combine those two concepts, and listen to how they sound together. So I have E to E, and then I'm going to go to the G sharp in the bass, and I'm going to play the D note. Okay? And then the A with the C sharp, and then the A sharp with the C, and then the B and the B together, and then I'm going to play C7 to B7, but I could also do that little climb up to the B as well. So when you put that together, you have and that kind of sounds cool. So what if we did that in the key of G? Well, it would be the same idea. The bass line would be G to the major 3rd, B, C, C sharp, D, D7. And my counterpoint, my melody, is going to be G, F, E, D sharp, D, and then to the 5 chord. So that sounds like this. G to G, B to F, C to E, C sharp to D sharp, and then I'm going to play my D note there, and then D7. So we have. You could do chordal things with that, like playing the B string. So there's many ways that you can play off of that and combine those ideas. So the way that my mind works is, when I learn a concept, I'm like, well, how do I do this in all different keys? And then also, how many ways can I do this in different inversions of the chord? So, we move these around, just because you have, this inversion of E7, E flat, D7, anywhere that you have some type of E7 chord, maybe try to, right, chromatically move that down and hear what that sounds like, right? So there's so many ways that you can voice an E7 chord, and just moving it down chromatically to the D and then going to the B7. And taking all of these concepts and trying to like put a little bit of a creative spin or play them in a different way. So that's just kind of an introduction to some basic ideas. Hopefully they're helpful. If you haven't already, visit www.rhinebeckschoolofmusic.com and subscribe. Become a patron, www.patreon.com/rhinebeckschoolofmusic, and I'll see you at the next one.